say I am Terrence Patterson, Commissioner and Chair of this committee, the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee. And I'd like to now recognize Ashley Thomas to provide a statement of necessity for today's meeting.
Thank you, Chairman. This is Ashley Thomas. This commission meeting is being conducted pursuant to TCA 8-44-108, allowing for a governing body to allow participation by electronic means of communication where a physical quorum is not possible. As commission committee business requires a decision at the regularly scheduled January meeting, the necessity of electronic participation is for the committee's deliberation and action on items set forth in the January 27th, 2022 agenda. All votes of the committee shall be by roll call. This meeting is being recorded and will be available after its conclusion via link on the commission's website, and a statement of necessity shall be filed with the Secretary of State pursuant to TCA 8-44-108.
Great, thank you. This is Terrence Patterson. I'd like to ask Chase, if you could please take a roll call of the commissioners present.
Commissioner Tucker?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Levine and Chairman Patterson.
This is Chairman Patterson here.
Thank you, sir. You have a quorum.
Okay, great. Let's first take a look at the vote on one of the commission's LEA policies. And after Drejane Cummings and Chase Engel will present the most updated strategic plan to the committee. And before we do that, does anyone have any comments on the agenda before we vote to approve?
No.
Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
This is Wendy Tucker. I move to approve the agenda.
And this is Terrence Patterson at second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chase, would you like to? Oh.
Commissioner Patterson, we'll be doing roll
Chase,
call votes on all of these today.
Right, okay. Yep, so would you like to go ahead and take the roll call?
Commissioner Tucker?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Patterson?
Aye.
Votes aye. Mr. Chairman, the agenda is approved.
Okay, great. We'll turn to the approval of the minutes to the October 11, 2021 meeting. And again, this is Terrence Patterson. The minutes of the committee meeting held on October 11, 2021 have been provided. Does anyone have any edits or any other modifications to make prior to these minutes before we proceed?
I have no edits, but I would move to approve the minutes from the October 11th meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Tucker. This is Terrence Patterson. I second that motion. Is there any other discussion? If not, Chase, would you please take a roll call vote?
Commissioner Tucker?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Patterson?
Aye.
Votes aye. Mr. Chairman, the previous meeting minutes have been approved.
Okay, thank you. This is Commissioner Patterson. The first item on our agenda is an update to the Commission's LEA policy 4400. And I'd like to ask our General Counsel, Ashley Thomas, to provide us an overview of this policy before we take a vote.
Thank you, Chairman. This is Ashley Thomas. The State Board passed emergency rules related to prohibited concepts, indicating that prohibited concepts shall not be included or promoted in a course of instruction, and that is pursuant to Tennessee Law 49-6-1019. And so this policy update requires that all commission authorized schools develop a policy to address any complaints that they may receive related to prohibited concepts, and post a complaint form that was developed by the Department of Education on its website. I will state for the committee that I have verified with all of our schools that they have posted that complaint form, and upon approval by the full commission, I will include a review of this particular policy in each of our schools' annual audits. I will stop at this time for any questions.
This is Wendy Tucker. It's hard to get the attention of you, Commissioner Patterson. May I ask?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Ms. Thomas, I just wanted to ask, just to make sure that we're clear on the record, we are being asked to recommend approval of a policy that aligns our policies with a state law, right?
That is correct. The drafting of the state law did require the State Board of Education to draft rules, and so we had to adopt a policy to comply with those rules in the state law.
And as a lawyer, I understand that. Also, as a lawyer, though, and as a citizen, as a parent, I have real problems with the statute that is underlying this policy. So I understand that law is law and we have to follow law. So I guess my next question for you is, I think I know the answer to this one. If I don't vote to move this forward, then the policy doesn't go to the full commission, but then our schools are out of compliance with law, right? I don't help them out any.
This is Ashley Thomas. That's correct. If you don't vote, this would die and that doesn't go to our schools.
And then Wendy Tucker, one more question. Is it acceptable to make a motion to move this forward to the full commission as opposed to make a motion to recommend approval by the full commission? I'm not sure I can make that motion in good conscience, and so that's why I'm asking that question. If that would still move it forward to let the full commission vote.
I think if you made the motion to move it to the full commission, that would be fine. Yes, ma'am.
Those are all my questions.
This is Commissioner Patterson. Commissioner Tucker, can you just clarify for me a little bit? What is your challenge with, I guess, the underlying state law for which this is reflecting?
Sure. The underlying law that this policy is regarding prohibits teaching of certain things, including arguably racial discrimination, gender discrimination, prohibits any teaching that might, and I think the language of the statute is really broad, actually. It isn't just specific teaching, but it's also promotion in the course of instruction of certain ideas, including the fact that our country has challenges. In my mind as a lawyer, it's a real First Amendment problem. I also, as someone who feels strongly that education and history go together to try to create a better world, I have real problems with what feels like suppression of some of the history of oppression in our country. So those are some of my problems with the law.
Okay. No, thank you for clarifying. This is Commissioner Patterson. Thank you for clarifying that position. So it sounds like your view, if there aren't any other questions or comments, is that we don't necessarily move to approve the policy on first and final reading, but instead we make a motion to have this for discussion at the full commission meeting?
This is Wendy Tucker. Essentially, yes. I recognize that we don't have the ability to change the law, and I recognize that our schools are bound, and we as an authorizer are bound to follow the law. I am just challenged in good conscience to say that I approve what this is, and that's why I want to move it to the full commission, and I will probably, frankly, just to telegraph where my head is, I will probably abstain from voting on this at that time.
Okay. This is Commissioner Patterson. General Counsel, are there any other options for us as a body as we think about this? Because I think Commissioner Tucker is raising a really good point, which I frankly tend to agree with when you look at the underlying statute. I guess, are we sort of bound by that law? Are there any other options for us as a body prior to us making a motion and moving it to the full commission, if that is the will of this committee? Are there any other options from your perspective?
Thank you for that question. This is Ashley Thomas. Unfortunately, I do not believe if we fail to move this to the full commission for a vote, I I fear that the charter schools that are authorized under the commission could run afoul of the state law, and we want to avoid that if at all possible. And so I think it is necessary to have this updated policy to ensure that our schools are following state law.
Okay. No, thank you. This is Commissioner Patterson. So thank you for that clarification and for your interpretation. And also, Commissioner Tucker, thank you for your perspective and push around this underlying law. And I think based on this discussion, I'm comfortable moving it to the full commission for us to talk through as a body and then ultimately make a decision at the commission level. Is there a motion to make such an action?
Yes, this is Wendy Tucker. I would move that we send this policy to the full commission in our meeting for consideration.
This is Commissioner Patterson, seconded. Chase, would you please call a roll call vote?
Commissioner Tucker?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Patterson?
Aye.
Votes aye. Mr. Chairman, the motion is approved.
Okay, thank you. This is Commissioner Patterson. The second item on our agenda today will be a presentation on the Commission strategic plan. So I'd like to recognize Trajane Cummings and Chase Engel to provide this update to the committee.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon. My name is Trajane Cummings, and I'm really excited to be presenting the Commission strategic plan to you all today. I'd first like to begin by reviewing the steps we've taken over the last several months as part of the strategic plan drafting process. So we first started with the mission statement and core values, using those as a foundation to help guide and ground our strategic planning. We then had conversations with other experts about creating a strategic plan to help inform our process and to be sure to align with established practices in the charter space. From there, we created a plan to solicit feedback from stakeholders on several proposed strategic plan priorities. We then wanted to map out each essential stakeholder group that we wanted to be sure we captured feedback from. Again, to start the process of engaging with our stakeholders, we worked to tease out the essential pieces of our mission statement and core values as a reminder of our charge as an agency and to serve as direction throughout the process. We then wanted to make sure that we focused on commissioner input. We created a survey for commissioners in order to receive feedback on the proposed strategic priorities. And then we also held individual interviews to gather more information on what each commissioner thought was important to focus on over the next 3 years. I will say it was a very insightful interview to have with each of the commissioners. We also conducted interviews with staff. We wanted to be sure to get their input and suggestions on the strategic plan. This is really important to us because this will be our work over the next 3 years. And finally, we received feedback from nonprofits and General Assembly members with suggested strategic priorities based on their understanding as our role as an agency. So following our feedback gathering stage, we created a draft strategic plan to share with commissioners, and we discussed this during our commission retreat. At the retreat, we were able to dig into the strategic plan, walking through each of the proposed priorities to ensure that the language accurately captured our goals. Overall, the feedback that we received during the retreat focused on putting students first, solidifying the connections to our core charge, and including a focus on high quality. After the retreat, we put the final touches on the strategic plan and shared drafts with Commissioners Griscom and Cisnet to finalize the language. I want to say here that they were immensely helpful to Chase and I to talk through and to draft the strategic plan. From there, we created a communications rollout plan that we will use once we have a final strategic plan, and Chase will talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So the strategic priorities here on the screen are the final priorities that we're proposing to you all today. And the draft that you have reflects a culmination of the work that we've put in over the last few months. I do want to pause here for any discussion and to address any questions that commissioners may have before we move on.
This is Wendy Tucker. I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you guys for the hard work on this.
And this is Commissioner Patterson. I just want to echo that sentiment. This has been an incredibly thorough and detailed process that's gotten a lot of feedback from multiple kind of constituent groups. So I do also want to tip my hat to you guys. Thank you for this great work.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll now turn things over to Chase.
Thank you, Drejon. Should the full commission vote to approve this strategic plan this afternoon, I will begin rolling it out to dedicated stakeholders, starting off with the General Assembly members. I will do my best, set up some meetings within the next 2 to 3 weeks, provide this plan to them with a hard copy, talk them through, how we got here and why this is on our paper today. Outside of the General Assembly, in the executive branch side, we're going to talk with the State Board of Education as well as the department, see what they have to say about it, garner any feedback that we can from those folks. As we were crafting this strategic plan and the priorities, a lot of our nonprofit stakeholders, they gave us a lot of valuable input. And so we're going to disseminate that to those folks, as well as, hopefully by the end of February, have some sort of webinar for any interested party and just have a good discussion, talk them through how we got to this point with this strategic plan. Beyond that, those were the big groups of people that we wanted to give this to and let them get their eyes on it. But if this committee or the full commission has any other recommendations on that front, I'll be sure to get it to them. And we would appreciate a positive recommendation today.
Great. Thank you. Thank you both again for your continued work on forming the commission's strategic plan. The commission's strategic plan, I guess, Commissioner Tucker, are there any other comments that you have before we recommend for adoption to the commission?
I don't have any other comments, but I would happily recommend full adoption to the commission. So that I would make a motion that we recommend full adoption wholeheartedly to the commission.
This is Commissioner Patterson. I second that motion. Chase, would you mind taking a roll call vote?
This is Chase Engle. Commissioner Tucker?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Patterson?
Aye.
Votes aye. Mr. Chairman, the motion is approved.
Great. Thank you. This is Commissioner Patterson, and I do apologize for a slight delay because I'm watching the broadcast while I'm on the phone, so I'm hearing double, so I do apologize for that. But thank you all for your attendance and your participation at the meeting of the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee of the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. I would like to note, per usual, we usually keep things very brief and to the point, so thank you to my fellow commissioner, Commissioner Tucker. And I would like to ask, are there any final comments or other comments from any other commissioners that may be present or Commissioner Tucker?
None. This is Wendy Tucker. None from me, and everybody else looks happy.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Commissioner Tucker. This is Commissioner Patterson. If there are no further comments, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
This is Wendy Tucker. I move to adjourn the meeting.
And this is Commissioner Patterson. I second. Chase, could you please take a roll call vote?
Commissioner Tucker?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Patterson?
Aye.
Votes aye. Mr. Chairman, the motion is approved.
Okay, thank you. This is Commissioner Patterson. The next meeting of the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee is scheduled for March 31st of 2022. Until then, we are adjourned. Thank you.